people are oppressed, not only are their human rights restrained, our world is robbed of their innovation, of their intelligence, and their creativity. No more. In 1905, a man named Ottawa Gurley bought 40 acres of land in Tulsa, Oklahoma that he would come to share with his business partner, John the Baptist Stratford. At that time, it was common for white people to refer to black people by their first names rather than their surnames as a sign of disrespect. To circumvent this, these two men decided that they would go by their initials. This meant anyone who attempted to disrespect them would end up calling them by a name that they chose. And while this was clever, this was neither the last nor the greatest act of narrational jiu-jitsu that these men would enact. You see, these two men bought these 40 acres of land so they could build a story unlike anything seen in the history of the United States. Because O.W. Gurley and J.B. Stratford had vowed they would only sell these 40 acres of land to black people looking to build their lives and businesses alongside other black people. Word spread, and before long, hundreds of black people from all over the country were flocking to Tulsa, chasing after the story of a land where they, despite living in a country of legally sanctioned racial terror, could build their lives and their dreams alongside people who look like them. This was the origin of the Greenwood community that would come to be known as the fabled Black Wall Street. The Black Wall Street community was legendary for the wealth of its residents, its number of businesses, and the tenacity of its black entrepreneurs. At its height, this community had over 600 businesses that included 32 grocery stores, a hospital, a bank, law offices, a trolley system, and even 6 privately owned planes. All of this done by people less than a generation removed from slavery. This was a dumbfounding accomplishment because the story of Black Wall Street painted a new reality that proved black potential to be limitless, even in a country that had enslaved us and made racism the very cornerstone of its identity. It is this new story written by Black Wall Street's founders that was both its crown jewel and its greatest gift. And it is truly an incredible blessing that this was the case. Because in 1921, the ineffable achievement of entrepreneurial genius that was Black Wall Street was burned to ashes. In 1921, a young man named Dick Rowland was rushing to use the restroom when he tripped over the threshold of an elevator, grabbing the arm of its white operator named Sarah Page. The next day, Dick Rowland was arrested after an article was published claiming he had tried to rape Sarah Page, and a white mob gathered outside of his jailhouse to lynch him. A group of Greenwood residents armed themselves and went down to the jailhouse to defend Dick Rowland, and while their presence allowed him enough time to escape, all hell broke loose when a white person tried to take a gun from one of these black defenders. There was a struggle over the gun, a shot flew out, and this served as the unjustifiable scapegoat for the fiery and bloody atrocity known as the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. Black Wall Street was burned to the ground over the course of 2 nights. Over 300 black lives were lost, and over 10,000 black people were left homeless. One of the only things that survived, one of the only things that could not be destroyed, turned out to be the most important thing of all: Black Wall Street's story. The story that set a new example of what was possible for black people in America and is still the #1 narrative that inspires black people to pursue entrepreneurship and financial self-sufficiency today. This is the story that shaped my life, and we have the opportunity to write the next chapter. You see, parallel to before the founding of Black Wall Street, Black America today is desperately in need of a new narrative. Economic studies tell us that median black wealth is on track to hit 0 by the year 2053. 0. Today, only half of the top 10 occupations that African Americans typically hold pay above the federal poverty guidelines for a family of 4, and all 10 of those occupations fall below the median salary for a U.S. worker. To make matters worse, many of these occupations are also among the top 15 occupations most at risk for automation-based displacement. These projections tell one story, but we have the opportunity to tell another. Greenwood's first chapter expanded the art of the possible for Black people in the 20th century. So it is only fitting that its newest chapter do the same for Black people in the 21st. It all began one day when I asked myself the question, what could Black Wall Street have been had it been supported and not destroyed? And when I thought about the level of tenacity that it took for these entrepreneurs to build these incredible businesses during Jim Crow, the smashing through walls, the out-of-the-box thinking, it reminded me a lot of the tech industry. And that's when I had a 3-pronged epiphany. Tech is one of the only industries in which you can build intergenerational wealth in 7 to 10 years via successful company exit. Technology is the core medium through which all global innovation and the creation of new wealth-generating markets takes place consistently. And by the year 2030, there will be as many as 4.3 million vacant, high-paying tech jobs due to a tech talent shortage. Upon realizing these 3 points, I not only saw the perfect wealth-building solution to the projected crisis of 2053, I saw a new horizon for the Black Wall Street vision. So I surmised, had Black Wall Street been supported and not destroyed, it would be nothing other than the nation's premier Black tech ecosystem. It was from this epiphany that I conceived of a new narrative to break the shackles on Black America's art of the possible for the next 100 years, just as Black Wall Street had done for the last. Just as O.W. Gurley and J.B. Stratford looked at 40 acres of land and envisioned the dreamland that became known as Black Wall Street, I, a century later, looked at the same community and envisioned Black Tech Street, a new horizon for Tulsa and America. A hub where every Black person has a viable path to wealth creation and global impact through the tech industry. A hub where entrepreneurial and technological genius are cultivated and met with the resources necessary for them to thrive. A hub that could be replicated in Black communities across the country, but most importantly, a new story of what it means to be Black in America. A story where Black children grow up looking in the mirror knowing that they could be the founder of the next billion-dollar tech company or the technologist that helps develop a solution to climate change. A story where learning to code is commonplace for Black people and where tech and innovation are as closely associated with Black culture as sports and entertainment are today. A story where America's most homogenous and non-inclusive industry becomes the very pathway of economic liberation for Black people. A movement sparked on the grounds of Greenwood, built on an act of narrational jiu-jitsu, empowered by the greatest story in the history of Black America, the Black Tech Street movement. Technology is the medium of the new world. The ubiquity and continual evolution of the tech industry ensures that it will provide new wealth-generating markets and opportunities to transform global systems for the foreseeable future. From artificial intelligence to fintech, XR, Web 3.0, and so much more, our country, our entire world even, is at the precipice of a 4th industrial revolution. A revolution that will transform everything from how we live, work, and even spend money. The 4th industrial revolution will touch every facet of human life, and these emerging technologies will be the medium for it all. The economic opportunity that being alive at such a time as this presents is unprecedented, and it is paramount that Black people take advantage of it. Because the fourth industrial revolution will be all or nothing for Black people, and it will ultimately define what our story is here in America. It will be the event that renders Black people economically powerless once and for all, or it can be the catalyst that positively and fundamentally alters the economic position of Black people in America forever. My intention is to use the inspiring story and blueprint of Black Wall Street, reimagined around technology, as a banner that mobilizes Black people to seize the opportunity of the tech industry and shatter our economic glass ceiling. This will require building a movement that builds consensus in the political, corporate, and social realms. This will also require that America stop seeing Black people as just an oppressed demographic in need of charity and start seeing us as the untapped energy source that will power technological innovation and catalyze economic growth in America for the next century. Issues such as climate change, the labor market crisis, and so much more will require the innovative capability of all of us to solve, not just a few segments of the population. To that end, I'm challenging us to do three things. First, I'm challenging the Congressional Black Caucus to lead the federal government in envisioning how the opportunity of the tech industry can be used to avert the Black wealth crisis of 2053. I want new policies that create pathways for Black Americans to break into the tech industry and that incentivize Black tech entrepreneurship at the forefront of lawmakers' minds. The American economy cannot continue to thrive if 13% of its population has median zero wealth. I implore Congress to host hearings that explore the benefits and the potential of the tech industry to be the core vehicle of economic mobility for Black people in America. Because Black people initiating a full-on embrace of the tech industry is the key to keeping America's economy globally competitive in the 21st century, and the federal government must absolutely help lead this effort. Next, I'm calling on big tech companies to redesign their entire culture and workspaces around diversity and belonging, not for charity, but to ensure that you are ready to receive the greatest migration of talent and innovation in our nation's history. It will do absolutely no good if Black people flood the tech industry only to leave it due to a non-inclusive culture. I know a massive redesign like this is possible because we have seen big tech do it before. In the early 2000s, a tech startup single-handedly redefined corporate culture. They had ping pong tables in their offices, beanbag chairs, chefs, and a whole host of other things nobody ever dreamed to belong in a corporate environment. And everybody thought they were crazy. But when that startup became a magnet for the best talent in the world, other companies followed suit, not wanting to be outcompeted. And this proverbial arms race is what created the very culture upon which the modern tech industry is built today. Knowing this, I'm challenging big tech companies to bring DEI experts in, not to give one-time training sessions, but to get under the hood and help you reorient your entire company culture, workplaces, and policies towards being a magnet for both attracting and retaining the best and most diverse high-caliber talent. If even a few big tech companies accept this challenge, the entire industry could follow suit, and it could spark a holistic redesign of tech and startup culture around diversity and belonging in a way that will be necessary to accommodate this coming shift. We have been going about this issue all wrong. The homogeny of the tech industry is not on minorities to solve. It is an industry design flaw. Let's finally get this right. Finally, Black people, I'm challenging you to see the tech industry as the next great frontier. Transform your view of this industry from one in which you may feel you have no place to one that is specifically calling on you to enter it, to build a brighter future for yourself, uphold the economic future of this nation, and as the way you can contribute to the rebirth of Black Wall Street and honor our ancestors. 100 years ago, fires lit by hatred consumed Greenwood. 100 years later, I'm on this stage to light a new fire in Little Africa. Except this fire will not be lit by hatred. This fire will be lit by the limitless innovative potential and entrepreneurial spirit of Black people. This fire will not destroy. This fire will not consume. This fire will build, and it will not remain confined to Tulsa. It will spread to give a new light and a new story to Black people across this country and eventually across the entire world. Understand me when I say, I'm not talking about just some new trend built on hashtags and swag. I'm talking about the movement that does for Black Americans economically what the civil rights movement did for Black Americans civically and socially. That level of action, that scale of impact, a new story for Black America, a story worthy of Black Wall Street. Thank you.